Most of us at some stage will have been stuck in an endless loop of overthinking, and for some of us it's constant. It shows up as replaying past conversations or events, excessive worry about the future, overanalyzing decisions, or struggling to relax and switch off because your mind feels busy all the time. As soon as things are quiet and you have time to think, the repetitive thinking starts. Planning, analysing, ruminating, even obsessive thinking, where something gets stuck in your head and you can't let it go. Thoughts like, I really messed this up, I should have handled it better, or if I don't get this right, my boss is going to be really angry at me, they didn't text back, does that mean they're upset with me? Or your brain schedules a 3 AM performance review where you go over everything that you did wrong ever, right back to that time where you shoved your best friend at primary school and hurt them. I mean, how could you be so evil? Or in my case, rehearsing a future conversation at work, trying to work out the best way to explain how things need to happen so that everyone can see that my way is the best way. In other words, hey guys, let's work like a team and do it my way. And you literally can't switch it off. And all this is on a normal day. But when things get really busy or uncertain, the overthinking dial gets turned up to 10 and you literally cannot switch it off. When it starts, it feels like you're actually solving a problem. I mean, it is good to plan and be prepared and be organised. But eventually the thinking actually becomes a problem. It makes me think of one of my favourite quotes from Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's that the problem isn't the problem's your attitude about the problem. Or in this case, how much you're thinking about the problem. There's a point where your thinking isn't actually helping to solve the problem. You're going over the same old ground, thinking through things that will never happen, trying to control things that you can't always control, stuck in a thought pattern that you can't get out of. It's like trying to drive with the handbrake still on. You can push the accelerator harder, you can plan a faster route, but at the end of the day you're still stuck in the same spot, or you're burning yourself out trying. The longer you're stuck in overthinking, you lose your confidence and your decision-making ability. You don't do things that you need to do or love to do because you're stuck thinking through how to do everything, or all the things that could go wrong, which leads to another overthinking spiral about why you haven't just done the thing. Puts you in this state where you feel constantly anxious and panicky, on edge. You aren't sleeping well, and even when you do sleep, you feel exhausted because there's something always weighing on your mind. And when you're tired, your decision-making ability is lower, and that's when overthinking kicks into overdrive. If you've been in this overthinking loop for long enough, you're probably starting to notice some physical symptoms as well. Things like stomach issues, headaches, muscle aches and pains, particularly in the back and your shoulders. And you'll probably start noticing that you're getting really run down and catching everything that's going around. Ultimately, your mental health will take a hit as well. Overthinking starts to bleed into every part of your life. Things that you used to love lose their joy, and work and relationships just feel hard. And repetitive overthinking has strong links to anxiety and depression. But there's much more to this than overthinking. In this video, I'll explain how survival mode feeds into your overthinking and run you through a really quick practice to help understand why your overthinking starts. You're not just someone that sits back and lets things happen. You handle things, you work them out. Once you're aware that you're overthinking, you should be able to stop it, right? I know you've tried telling you something like just stop it or snap out of it, or my favourite, telling your thoughts to shut up. Shut up, Jeff! But it's not that easy. It's actually really hard to break overthinking loops. Like, it's really easy to notice that you're in one, but you can tell yourself to stop, and 2 minutes later you're just back in the same thought pattern. You might have read all about it or talked it through in therapy, and you've probably been given lots of advice and solutions. But ironically, a lot of the common solutions to overthinking actually involve more thinking, just what you need. You might have tried things like identifying one small concrete step that you can take and then doing it. In other words, just do it. Or doing something like distracting yourself with something that takes your full attention. Something like a hobby or an exercise or talking to someone. Notice that scrolling on your phone doesn't make the list here. Meditation, grounding yourself in the present, which when you're an overthinker, that's just gives you way more time to think things through even more. Or just letting things go and writing them down. Some of these things would have been helpful, but if you're really great at overthinking, most of them are just going to feel like more planning and more effort. More ways to manage your thoughts using your brain. Coping strategies to manage something that you want to fix. When all you want to do is shut your mind off and have some relief from your thoughts. Overthinking is your mind's way to keep you safe by controlling the outcome of a situation. When you're dealing with something that feels uncomfortable or uncertain, your mind sees that as a threat and switches into problem-solving mode. It starts to try to work out a solution to your problem that will keep you safe. But when there isn't an actual resolution to the problem, your mind just stays in problem-solving mode, keeps your nervous system on. This explanation leads to the logic that changing or stopping the thoughts is the solution to overthinking. But there's actually a deeper emotional cause of overthinking. To me, overthinking is all about underfeeling. At its core, overthinking is a protective mechanism. When we're faced with emotional pain or discomfort, aka feelings that we don't want to feel, our mind perceives that as unsafe. The overthinking is effectively your mind's way to control or shut down the shame, guilt, anger, and sadness that you don't feel safe to feel. Logically, you know that most of what you overthink isn't actually dangerous right now, because if it is, you'd just be getting right out of there, wouldn't you? And the reality is that feeling the emotions that you don't want to feel is actually easier and safer than you think it is. Not just easy and safe, but actually needed. When we don't allow ourselves to feel our emotions, they go unprocessed and get stuck in our body. And over time, those layers of unprocessed emotion build into a state where your nervous system's always stuck in on, which is survival mode. This is at the core of why everything you've tried to fix your overthinking hasn't worked. You aren't weak-minded, you just haven't been taught emotional safety. And I believe that once you have been taught emotional safety, your overthinking will stop. If you feel like nothing you've tried stops your overthinking, drop a like below and let me know I'm on the right track. From a really early age, we've all been taught not to feel certain things by family, friends, work, society. Either through common comments that you would have heard like boys don't cry or don't get so emotional, or through the actions of the people closest to us. For example, getting angry when you're angry or sad, or only giving your love and attention when you're being good and quiet. We're taught that emotions like happy, calm and brave are good, while sad, angry and scared are bad. And with those labels and through constant reinforcement comes the idea that the bad emotions are ones that we need to avoid and control and suppress, while the good emotions are encouraged and they become the only ones that we feel safe to actually feel. And if you add in the fact that some of our emotions are just uncomfortable or just plain hurt, it's no wonder we spend so much time avoiding some of them. When something feels uncomfortable, instead of letting ourselves feel it, we go into our head. We start thinking about it, analyse it, try to control it. And that's when the overthinking starts to take over. But what if I told you there's no bad emotions? That every emotion has a purpose. It's something you need from it and something you can learn. At a basic level, they're to draw you towards things that are right for you and push you away from the things that aren't. Fear is an intuition about something in the present that could be dangerous to you. Anger gives you insight into where boundaries have been crossed and gives you energy to do something about it. Sadness helps you process loss and move through change. Even shame, which is a really uncomfortable emotion to feel, it's just telling you where you haven't acted in a way that meets your values and gives you some insight into how you can improve next time around. None of these emotions are the problem. The problem is when you don't allow yourself to feel them. Your body and your mind act as one complex unit. Your body creates feelings, sensations and physical reactions, and then your mind steps in and interprets them and decides what to do. But the mind doesn't control everything. It's actually heavily the other way around. Most of your feeling and how you react happens subconsciously in your body, not in your conscious thinking. Your subconscious is running behind the scenes on autopilot, handling most of your emotional responses. Your body's actually designed to deal with emotion really well. It's designed to take everything in, create a reaction that'll keep you safe, and then process it out of your system and let it go. It's if you let it do its thing and you don't try to control your emotions using your thoughts. But in Western culture, we've been taught to prioritise thought, problem solving, intellect and above everything else. So instead of going into the body, noticing the tightening in our chest, the heaviness in our stomach or the heat that builds up, we've been conditioned to jump into the mind and analyse things. And that's where we start to use our thoughts to control what we feel. Anything that challenges us, we shut down. Anything that feels uncomfortable, we avoid. All those feelings that we've been taught not to feel, we just suppress them. And over time, we start to associate feeling anything other than happy with being unsafe. And this is where the overthinking loop begins. Your body brings up something that needs to be felt, and your mind steps in to control it. So you start thinking, planning, replaying, trying to stay ahead of what might happen. But the emotion underneath never gets processed. So your body keeps bringing it up and your mind keeps trying to control it and shut it down over and over again in a loop. That's why overthinking doesn't switch off, because it's not just thinking. It's your mind trying to protect you from something that it doesn't feel safe to feel. That's why I say overthinking is underfeeling. And it's why everything that you've tried hasn't worked. You can distract yourself, challenge your thoughts, write things down. But if the emotion underneath's still there, your nervous system stays on. Still scanning for threats, still trying to keep you safe, still feeding the loop. When your emotions aren't felt, they don't disappear, they get stuck. And over time, those layers of emotion build into a state where your nervous system is always on. That's survival mode, where everything feels like a threat, where your mind's constantly trying to stay one step ahead, and where overthinking becomes your normal. When your system's stuck like that, it doesn't just stay in your head. It starts showing up in your body, in that tension in your neck and shoulders, in the headaches that just keep coming back, and feeling run down all the time, like you're catching every single thing that's going around. It also starts to impact your mental health. You feel anxious, on edge, constantly emotionally reactive. Your sleep drops off, you constantly feel exhausted, and things that you love, they just feel harder than they should. And if that goes on for long enough, it's no surprise that it turns into anxiety and depression. As I said earlier, the solution's emotional safety, not forcing yourself to stop thinking, but to just allow yourself to feel what's there. Because when an emotion's felt properly, your body processes it and releases it. It takes your nervous system out of survival mode. That's when the overthinking actually stops. And how do I know this? It's stopped my overthinking and it's helped my clients as well. I wouldn't call myself a chronic overthinker, but I often overthought a lot of situations, particularly around work. I'd spend so much mental energy planning, analysing and thinking everything through to make sure that it turned out the way that I wanted. It really impacted my sleep. I couldn't turn my thoughts off when I went to bed, and because I was awake, I'd just overthink even more. I'd be getting angry and frustrated, rehearsing difficult conversations that hadn't even happened yet. And the reality was that 99% of the time, the things that I was thinking about and planning for wouldn't even happen. And I knew that logically, but I still couldn't stop the overthinking. Created a whole lot of anxiety for no reason. And when my overthinking got bad, my mental health would take a real hit. And I tried lots of things to stop it, distracting myself, breathing, writing it down. I did talk therapy and it did help for a lot of things, but my overthinking was still there. I got told a lot to care less about things, but I just couldn't change the way that I felt about some things. I got to the point where I felt really stuck, and I didn't realise it at the time, but I was stuck in survival mode. I was constantly exhausted. Every day just felt like the same thing, going through the motions. Constantly had migraines. I had one nearly every week, and it would just wipe me out for a whole day. I was constantly stiff and sore, and my mental health was really bad. Like everything just felt harder than it should have been. I'll tell the full story in my Successful But Dead Inside episode, so if you haven't seen that already, check it out now. Once I started doing emotional healing sessions, everything changed for me. The deep root cause of my overthinking was that I didn't feel good enough. And I was constantly getting angry and frustrated at situations where I perceived someone had thought that I wasn't good enough. So my overthinking was my mind's way of planning and thinking through everything to make sure that I was always prepared, I was always right, I was always ready. But the problem was that it was always keeping my nervous system in fight or flight, always on, trying to make sure that I was never wrong and never had to feel the shame of feeling not good enough ever again. Once I was guided through feeling and processing all the anger and shame that was stuck in my body, I felt completely different. I felt like I had my energy back, I was sleeping better, my migraines went away, and all that stiffness and soreness that I had in my body disappeared. I felt like myself again, like I could enjoy life. And over time, my overthinking stopped. I've learnt capability to feel and process my emotions, which gave me the emotional safety that I needed for it to stop. I can't say that I haven't overthought anything since, but I do find now that it's so much easier to stop the loop and find the thing underneath that I've been avoiding feeling. Recently, using the Heal to Last method, I helped a client get out of an overthinking loop that they'd been stuck in for 5 years. They came to me because, in their own words, they'd become a grumpy prick. They were constantly angry and frustrated with their own children, and they just wanted to be a good parent. They just didn't want to keep behaving like this. They were constantly on edge. They described this feeling of constantly feeling like something bad was going to happen. I could actually see how physically tense they were. and it was starting to impact their health. Their back and shoulders were constantly stiff and sore, and they just had constant anxiety. What we found was that it all started after the birth of their first child. There'd been complications after the birth, and they'd had to deal with this really scary situation where they could have lost the baby. They felt really helpless, but at the same time, like we all do when things go wrong, they felt like they needed to keep it under control, like they couldn't lose it because people were relying on them. And because of that, they hadn't allowed themselves to feel any of the anger or the fear or the sadness that came out of what happened. And they hadn't given themselves space to feel it since. This is why they were so on edge. They were stuck in survival mode, constantly on alert, worrying about what would go wrong next and thinking through how they would react and keep people safe when something did go wrong. They were stuck overthinking things that hadn't even happened yet. And when things did go wrong, they would react with anger because they didn't have the situation under control. Using the Heal to Last method will help guide them through feeling and releasing all of the fear that they hadn't been able to feel at the birth of their first child. They were able to release so much tension from their mind and body and shift the guilt that they'd been feeling about how they'd been behaving. After the first session, I could see how much more relaxed they were. And after the second session, they were much more able to cut themselves and the kids some slack for when things didn't go perfectly. They didn't need to overthink all the bad things that could happen anymore. They could just be a good parent. If you want to see similar results for yourself, get in contact with me. We can have a chat and I'll help you identify some of the emotions that you've been trying to avoid through overthinking and give you a personalised plan to help build some emotional safety and help stop it. The details are down below. Now I'm going to give you a really quick practice that builds emotional safety and helps you work out why your overthinking starts by identifying the deeper feeling that you've been avoiding. The reality is that deep down you already know why you're overthinking. There's something that you're trying to avoid by mentally analysing and planning every outcome. If you listen to your body, your intuition, instead of your mind, you'll be able to find the deeper emotion behind it all. When you notice yourself overthinking, the first thing I want you to do is name it. Say to yourself, I'm overthinking. This will help break the thought. Next, I want you to close your eyes. Just start breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. I want you to just focus on your breathing for 30 seconds. If a thought comes up, I just want you to notice it and let it go. Now I want you to keep breathing and focus your attention onto what's happening in your body. What sensations are there? Could be anything. Could be tightness, could be tingling, could be aching, could be warmth, could be cold. Don't go chasing things. I just want you to see what comes up. But in this exercise, we're looking for sensations that feel uncomfortable, okay? It's important not to judge them. They aren't good or bad. They don't need to be fixed. Just be curious about what's there. Once you've found a sensation, then I want you to ask yourself quietly, what am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? If you're not in a safe space to feel this right now, I want you to come back to it later when you have the time, space and safety to feel it, okay? Don't go chasing a particular feeling or searching your mind for an answer, okay? If you keep focusing on the sensations in your body, an emotion will eventually come to you. Once you find an emotion, I just want you to say it out loud. Or if you can't say it out loud, say it in your head, okay? Might be, I am angry, I am sad, I feel guilty. Whatever it is, I just want you to say it out loud. And I just want you to notice what happens to that sensation in your body when you say it out loud. Does it get stronger? Does it get hotter? Does it change in any way? Just keep breathing. Let the emotion happen. Don't try to stop it or change it in any way. You might need to say it out loud a few times more. I'm angry, I'm sad, I feel guilty. Just use saying it out loud to build the emotional sensation in your body. If another emotion that feels stronger comes up, I just want you to go with that, okay? Say that out loud and see where you feel it in your body. Just let it be whatever it wants to be. If it starts to get stronger, just let it build. This is the feeling that your overthinking's been trying to protect you from. This is your handbrake. It might be uncomfortable, but I just want you to stay in that feeling. Keep noticing how your body feels. If you need to move or shake or anything, just let yourself. If you need to cry, just let it happen. These are all ways that your body helps process emotion. I don't want you to stop feeling it, okay? I just want you to stay in that feeling until it backs off on its own. This could be fairly quickly, or it could take a few minutes. If you're still in the middle of feeling an emotion right now, I just want you to pause this and just come back to it when you're ready. Just to finish this off, I want you to keep your eyes closed and just keep breathing for another minute. And I just want you to scan around your body and notice what's changed. Is your mind quieter? Is your jaw unclenched? Have your shoulders dropped a bit? Do you feel lighter? Has anything else changed? Whatever you notice has changed, it's a sign that your body's let go of some emotion that it was holding on to. And if you couldn't find a feeling, that's actually okay too. Doesn't mean this won't work for you. Feeling our emotions isn't something that most of us do every day. So it can just take a little practice and time to get in tune with what your body's trying to say. What you just practiced was creating some emotional safety for yourself. You allowed yourself to feel an uncomfortable emotion and stay in it and let it be what it needed to be until your body processed it as it's meant to do. I want you to write down what came up, because this will be a feeling that your overthinking's been trying to protect you from. And just remember that this isn't something you need to avoid or try to fix. It's just something that you actually need to feel. Next steps to get in contact with me. Have a little bit of a chat about how to process the emotion that your overthinking's been trying to avoid and give you a personalised plan to stop it. Details down below. Overthinking isn't just who you are or how you deal with things. Your mental strength isn't the issue, and thinking through every possible outcome isn't fixing it. What's actually keeping you stuck is that you don't feel safe to feel what's underneath it. And until that changes, the overthinking doesn't go away. You stay stuck in the same loop, going over and over the same thoughts, replaying conversations, planning everything that could go wrong, trying to switch it off and ending up right back in it. Not because you're not capable, but you're stuck in survival mode, still holding on to everything that you haven't felt safe to feel. Once you build emotional safety and get out of survival mode by processing what's there, your overthinking stops. It's not masked, it's not managed, it's fixed. You can finally take the handbrake off, and you feel the difference everywhere. You stop going over the same conversation 10 different ways trying to get it right. You walk into meetings and conversations without having to rehearse every single word first. You won't lie there at night with your brain running through everything that you messed up that day, and you can actually switch off. No more 3 a.m. performance reviews. You get your energy back and you feel like yourself again. And if you're honest with yourself, you already know that this is what you need. So the question isn't whether this makes sense, it's whether you're going to keep putting up with it or actually do something to fix it and stop surviving and start thriving. If you want to get out of your head and fix what's underneath this, then subscribe. This is what I do. Every episode I show how people get stuck like this and how to get out of it properly. And if you want to take it a step further, download my survival mode quiz. It'll help you understand how emotionally stuck you are and give you a personal strategy to help get you out of survival mode and feeling like yourself again. The link's down below. See you in the next episode if you're the last.